Hello and welcome to TFT Worlds Final Day Game number 1. Enjoy.
During the day, being a chemistry teacher, at night coming on to TFT and, well, dominating in set 6 going into Worlds. He has 2.3k LP on the Chinese main server, so he can do it all, and he's made it into this day 3 as well and continues to be just, like you said, such a creative player, such a great player to watch play at the highest level. All throughout day 2, I think the Korean and Chinese players were excellent in showing us how TFT can be taken to an even higher level than I think most viewers and players think. But now we're going to get into this game. We have here the start of what could be underdogs Cho'gath in game 1 for Liluo.
Oh yeah, I mean, if anyone followed the Rising Legend circuit, I'm not the biggest fan of a big chunky Cho'gath, but that could definitely be a start. We're gonna hop on over to Dudu Sport, who has a little scrap moment going, hoping to find that Yordle opener just to generate some extra econ. And also the tome on the bench is not gonna give instant board strength, but later on enable a little bit more of a vertical comp for Dudu.
We talked about the different, playstyles you can have with the Ancient Archives as your first augment. You can pop it open right away and let it decide the direction you're going to go in, knowing what emblem you're getting, knowing, what advantage you'll have in the early and mid game. Or you can wait until the mid game, pop it open when you have, if you're trying to force a specific angle, if you have a scrap stars we're seeing here with Ezreal 2, Poppy 2, and
there it goes.
Innovator emblem is a possibility.
Yeah.
It is a pick. We might be seeing Innovator 7 in this game 1 of the World Championship.
Actually, out of the games that our players played yesterday, 5 of the comps they played were Innovator heavy comps. So I'm here for it. I think it can do really well. We have even seen one win with an Innovator comp coming out of TXE Sport. So Innovator 7 would be something to talk about for sure.
Well, technically, the Twitch reroll comp was also Innovator, so that's another win that we saw Megumin getting yesterday as well in one of the lobbies.
Okay,
so
fair.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Sivir has won a lot of the games in this tournament until now, but the second maybe most competent comp at winning games is going to be Innovator because it's able to flex so many different carries, and it can be an incredibly strong board once you cap out with things like we're seeing here. Innovator emblem, binary, for example, also is an augment that takes Innovators to the next level in terms of winning a game.
Yeah, and to be honest, Dudu has shown a little bit of a lean to a more, well, at least balanced, if not even AP heavy playstyle, similar to what we've seen from Altanawe. So I think Innovator is a comp that they will be just happy with. But we're also seeing Duel Sport, who's also on an Innovator moment, has the Tiny Titan, so just a little bit of extra health while we're in the first couple of stages of the game, and just has that extra cushion.
Singe 2 going to be great for the front line. The static shift slammed already. Going to be a great item on Ezreal to either win rounds or at least preserve HP if you are losing, but did win the last one and is hoping to win this one as well with an Innovator start. Usually a strong comp for the early game, especially if you have upgrades, especially on Ezreal 2, but Singe is also a good one. You're seeing it here. He tanks for so long. His CC is fantastic for the early game, pretty much unmatched in terms of early game CC. And I'm not sure if this Sway and Poppy will do enough, especially with the Ziggs bomb coming in clutch. We talked about yesterday, Makes. Ziggs in stage 2, he's still, pretty competent.
Yeah, that is true. In stage 2, that may still be the case, but later on, you probably don't want to have him on your board if you can help it. But it is one of those units that has a lot of trades, so sometimes you just want to slot them in. But here for Ujul, we're prepping that Caitlyn too, because if she ults at least one time, she's going to take out an enemy champion in a matchup. But here's Gubum Sport already with the Quirky, has the Yordles getting that extra economy in, and can go into Twin Shot, which we've seen a lot of.
Has Celestial Blessing for that extra healing later on in the game, and I think Goobums is already indicating to the rest of the lobby exactly what path he's trying to take. Has the Zeeks already built, has a glove, looking to go into AD, looking to go into the Striker scrap comp with Sivir and Irelia. We're still not there yet, quite yet. He still has to work through the entirety of the mid game and try and have an econ and HP lead going to the late game, but it looks like his direction is quite clear. Whereas Dudu, like we mentioned before, Innovator Emblem, I think you're going to go into Innovator 7, going to try and find a good damage carry to accompany either the Jace or maybe something else in the, mid to late game with Kha'Zix or Jhin, or maybe even just Irelia in some cases. And again, Innovator 7, such a strong cap board. You can definitely be looking to win this game if everything goes well in the mid game.
Yeah, and I think that is definitely a very strong possibility. But also Lilu is one of the players that, I think will get a legendary and then play around whatever legendary comes to him. So often the boards that we get out of them in the end are just legendary heavy, not as high traits like Innovator 7 or Arcanist 8 or a Challenger, those kind of boards, but rather a little bit more mix and match, but very, very strong and a force to be reckoned with.
The Poppy 2 upgrade is here for Luli. He has the double blitz technology on the board. Going to swap one out for now. Can be very good at preserving HP if you're loose streaking, because blitz his hook is able to allow your entire comp to kind of force kill one unit very quickly, preserving HP in the process, instead of having kind of that very weird early game rounds where you damage everything but don't kill anything and then lose so much HP because of it.
Yeah, and we're gonna meet up with Goobums here. Still hasn't found that Lucian that he was probably looking for to get the twin shot going, but looking pretty healthy in terms of econ as we're still on the Yordle trade. And let's see what Lily's board does here. I don't think it will be enough. The Corki is just doing so much damage in the backline untouched, and there's 2 upgraded units on Goobum's board that Lily's board just can't match right now.
And that's fine. The goal here is the loss streak, as we're seeing here. You have the Yordle start. You're ideally trying to preserve some HP. It's not looking great. 72 HP isn't the worst, but it's not the best either when you're not directly open forwarding. One player to talk about that we haven't seen yet is TXC, because Makes, he has picked one of the most interesting augments in the game, and that's going to be built different. In day 1 of the World Championship, he's going to try and play the alternate route altogether going into this first game.
I mean, that already is just saying fight me to me, right? Like, going into build different is definitely something you can do, and it's very strong, especially in the early to mid game stages, but often players shy away from it in a tournament setting as it's just so unusual, and you need to hit the right build different units and get them upgraded in order to have a really strong board. TXE is saying here that they can do anything and is not scared of anything either.
Unfortunately, with Build Different, you want to have the full win streak. Only was able to win these last 3 rounds instead, going into Krug. So not an ideal start, but still, if you're able to play around very strong individual units like Tryndamere, like Talon, like the Zyra, that with attack speed does so much better in the early game with the CC. TXT might have a very strong mid game as well. But as we saw there, he was facing off against Li, who was playing the open fort strategy, had Caitlyn in the front line to guarantee he lost his match there going into Krugs and guaranteed the 5 loss streak. 62 HP though is dangerous, but we've seen Chinese players play so well from behind, knowing how to sacrifice HP, how to build for econ in the early game, and then reach these incredibly capped out legendary boards in the late game.
I just saw something, Pen. I'm not sure if you caught it, but we quickly saw a fight from Li Lu, who has the underdogs. If you remember, you were calling it out already in the first PvP round. That Cho'gath that they have now has a Bloodthirster, and since it is Adrenaline Rush, we could definitely go into an AD Cho'gath carry for Li Lu, and that would also be, I think, a first for the Worlds Tournament.
I think we might have seen, a few here and there, but definitely not a mutant strat that you try to default to or say, oh, it's Adrenaline Rush, let me play this right away. It's more you need to have that early game start with a Cho'gath. You need to have those stacks stacking up very quickly, and you need to have the right items. And it's a very interesting comp to make work. It's incredibly, risky or ballsy to say, hey, game 1 of the final day of the World Championship, I'm gonna play AD Cho'gath to start things off. But these Asian players, this is what they are made of. This is what they bring to the table. They bring these super creative comps that no one else would maybe even risk going into on such an important day of TFT, and then they just try and pull it off. And usually, they do, Makes.
Yeah, that's very true. They've been doing fantastic in the past 2 days, and I'm just so here for it. We're gonna get our second augments in just a little bit, but yeah, I love that. I think seeing all of these comms right now, nobody leaning too heavy into that striker moment that we keep talking about, you know, because there really is no other way around it. I think TXE is probably planning to go into it later, as we've seen a little bit of a lean into that comm, similar to what Milk had been doing in the first 2 days. And built different in the later stages, just not as great, so you usually slot out of it and just get it going for early and mid game. But yeah, I mean, right now a lot of variety, and we love that.
A lot of variety for now, but maybe not later on, because Goose, like Goobums, is also indicating he wants to play a little bit of, you know, Sivir and Irelia. He has the Zeeks on board. He has the cloak that can be a QSS later on. He has another belt that could also be a second Zeeks. We saw, you know, double and triple Zeke moments yesterday all throughout day 2. And both North American players had really good results playing Sivir yesterday, and they might be trying to emulate something similar in this day 3 as well. With a great frontline here, Leona 2 in the mid game, going to be incredibly strong. Going to be playing for Brand VIP with Zeeks. The extra attacks are going to be fantastic, and the VIP on Brand early on is so good here as well.
Yeah, I mean, Brand doing so much extra damage with the VIP in the early stage is something you really want to have. Also, that Echo with the Frozen Heart already just so nice, getting that extra attack speed slow on the enemy backline. But I don't know if it's going to be enough here for Lilu as that Cho'gath surely, but yeah, I don't think it can do it. The Brand seems a little bit stronger here, going to take out the Malzahar as well, and that's a win for Goose going into our second augment, and it's going to be silver again.
Tiny Titans has been a good pickup for so many players. Atenawe tweeted about this being his savior yesterday. He got it in 3 different games, and he said he decided that it really was something that helped him out. And Goose decides to also go into this empowering augment, growing his little legend to a little bit of a scarier size, I have to admit, but also just trying to stay healthier in the mid game, trying to make sure he can have a consistent result in this game. One, you don't have to win this game. It's not quite after that checkmate position where you're at 18 points. Instead, you want to just make up a decent amount of points and make sure to reach 18 points after ideally 3 games, but you know, if it goes to worse, 4 games would be the best. But as you mentioned, Brand VIP, very, very strong in the mid game. He's going to be able to cast so many times with Debonair active, and the Zeeks helps even more. You know, it's not a mana item, but the attack speed kind of, you know, enables auto attacks to come in a little bit quicker and get that mana flowing.
Yeah, but with 2 players picking up the Tiny Titans, at least from what we know right now, the lobby health has shifted a little bit. Right now, Goose and Ajul are over 100 HP, and then at the very bottom of the lobby, Lioli is already at 55, and while that is still a lot to work with, and HP is a resource for sure, slowly but surely we should be trying to get back to the rest of the group, as we're nearly 30 HP away from everybody else for Lioli.
Big win here from Dudu on the Innovator emblem. Also picked up first aid kit, which can work so well with scrap shields, can work so well with a sustaining comp like Innovators. So definitely, I think, one of the players to watch out for going into the late game. A Sivir is picked up from TXE. He has built different, so I'm not sure if he's going to go into the Sivir Irelia comp just yet, but at the very least, doesn't allow other players like Goobums and Goose to pick this up. A Sivir with a sword, what else can you ask for?
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what I was mentioning earlier. TXE is also known for kind of getting into one comp and playing that really, really well if he can pull it off. So leaning into that one play style. In the finals, it was Chemtech Warwick. This has now been abandoned for the striker comp, of course, and a lot of the games we saw coming out of TXE were actually striker comps, and I think he barely lost with it in the past 2 days too.
Well, Mix, we're off build different. We're going to go into Sivir instead. TXE was one of the strongest Sivir players in this tournament. He gets a Sivir with a sword. He has an IE now built, a Zeeks on the Ezreal, and built different is the augment that, you know, especially at silver, that you want to just build around for the first 2 stages, and then in stage 4 play an actual comp a bit earlier maybe for TXT, because he's able to transition so cleanly now into this scrap striker board.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think this is what we have been expecting. We just talked about it. The Sivir coming in for TXE, definitely going to lean into that moment, even if it means we're sacrificing the build different a little earlier. I am a tiny bit worried going into the later stages of the game because he's down one combat augment, which will not do too much for him. And then we also have the Pandora, so another augment strength gone for now.
Well, I don't know about. It's gonna essentially shore up so that he can find perfect items for the Sivir, for the Irelia.
Last Whisper
Already has 2 items on the Sivir. Last Whisper, take down all the armor, especially on any bodyguard comps going into the late game. And this is the start of something that's going to be very, very strong here. TXC, as we mentioned yesterday, one of the players that had the most comfort playing on Sivir. He's actually, you know, I'm not gonna say weirdly enough, he's the player with the most wins in this tournament. He's won 33% of the games that he has played in, so a pretty incredible stat. He's definitely far ahead of other players in that stat category, and I'm gonna try and emulate that today, where wins are the most important.
Yeah, I mean, if you get into winning early, we are in that checkmate format. The first, I'd say, 3, maybe 4 wins are not gonna count as the win that you need finally, but it's going to give you those 8 juicy points, and you need them to rank up the checkpoint of 18 points to actually make it to the final champion title. And I mean, I think this format is so exciting. It's got players going for all kinds of really crazy comps, and if the majority of the players is around that checkpoint, all of the games will get massively more aggressive, and I am so ready for it. I can barely, you know, stay in my chair. I'm just wiggling around, just expecting that. It'll be so great.
And this is getting dangerous. So many players seem to be going for Sivir, Irelia. Some of these players are going to hold hands and go 7th and 8th because of the, you know, the units being so contested. Yuli also on Sivir, Irelia has a scrap emblem, so you're trying to see, you know, what advantage do I have over the rest of the players who are going this comp. Some players have the scrap emblem, some players just have really good items and these units down already, but Goobums and Goose were both in this direction. TXE as well. Yuli joins the party, 4 out of the 8 players trying to go this AD route. Frozen Heart built here for Yuli. Doesn't have the Echo just yet, but has a Jace on level 7 without really rolling.
Yeah, I mean, not only the Jace, we're also seeing the Zeri on the bench, just picked up by Yuli. Not necessarily something you want to slot in, but holding the legendary for now, just making sure if we want to, you know, pivot into a Debonair, Sniper comp, anything like that, then that is an option we have with the Zeri for now. Just going to hold on to it, make sure we're not closing that option down. But here's Lilu with the underdog Cho'gath carry, just completely chomping at everything in front of its path. In the backline, we have 2 Malzahars, just trying to do a little bit of extra for that Cho'gath, and now it comes down to Cho against Sivir, and that Cho will just eat her straight up.
I'm sure Cho'gath taking a bite of Sivir there is a climactic moment for many of our viewers at home, and this is going to be an important thing to note for many of these players, because Lilo has to be very careful that players aren't trying to build into things like Giant Slayer or maybe getting Disintegrator as an augment choice, because that's going to make sure that Cho'gath's health total goes down a lot quicker. And we're seeing it here. Lilui has Disintegrator as a second augment, so that's going to be very good news if he ends up facing against his Chinese I'm not going to say compatriot, I guess, in this case, in the final lobbies of today. One player that we have to check out, I think, is Altenawe. He was playing an interesting board. He was win streaking all throughout stage 2, but then is now lost a bit of HP. He's just gone to 8 at 4-2, so an early level 8 for him. And we'll see later on what comp he's playing. I think it was AP when the game started off.
I just saw Goose hit an Irelia too, which is definitely going to be a call to everybody else who's playing Strikers right now that they need to watch out if they want to hit it. And I think Leoli with the 2 Zeris on board is maybe also getting wind of that. We have the Jinx and we have the Tom Kenshin, a bunch of legendaries to go around for Leoli, but not a lot of gold. So we need to try and find more board strength. There is the Irelia 2 now also for Leoli getting hit, but we still need to upgrade those Sivirs, getting a little bit of more front strength. The front line with that Braum 2 Frozen Heart will be really fantastic, and the Jace in the back line just enabling all of the other units. I really like this moment here.
Goobums has picked up Recombobulator. We're gonna see what his board looks like here. Has a Vex frontline, has a Braum already, has a Kai'Sa as a 5 cost he was able to pick up from a 4 cost upgrading, and is now gonna maybe try and build his board around this Kai'Sa. But overall right now, just a mix and match of units. Misfortune, Ashe, 3 Syndicate here as well. Yorl's still in here for the Econ. We'll see where he's able to take this. A level 8, only 20 gold to work with, and doesn't have really a board that looks like one of those final, stage 5 comps you're expecting to see.
No, it doesn't look like anything I was ever expecting to see, but it sure enough is enough to win against Duel here. And that Kai'Sa, even though it's 1 star and no items, is actually doing a lot, I feel like. Just coming in, ulting from the side, getting so much extra damage on all of the other units, together with the Ashe ult, felt really satisfying to watch.
Stage 4 Carousel, Galio with a belt, Victor with a cloak are the 2 5 costs. Not the most appealing units or item combinations. We didn't see many players going AP. Instead, would have hoped for maybe a Jace, but that won't be the option. The bow, though, always going to be in high demand due to the AD comps, and Ujul is the one to pick it up.
Yeah, there's also an Ahri with a rod, which in an AP heavy setting would be very, very nice to have. As now we're gonna pick that up here, just saying, okay, maybe I can use it. Not sure what their board looks like right now. The last time we saw it, Panda, do you remember what was on there? I think we had the Exiles and Pandoras on Altanawe, and actually Goose hitting an Ahri too while we speak about it.
Yeah, it was Exiled on Altanawe, and he was having an AP start with Twin Shot with a Gunblade built and a Shojin built on the Yordles all the way back at the end of Stage 2 and going into 3-1 after Krug. So we'll check out if he's still playing AP. He played 3 games of AP to start off the day 2, and he did really, really well going into that AP tree. So we'll see if he's trying to emulate that today. But here, it's going to be Goobums. Sivir, well, not Sivir on one side, and it's still going to be double Zeke's Lulu on the other side for Goobums.
Yeah, and just look at the backline from Liuli. The Sivir now facing off against the Kai'Sa, gonna do so much here, and the Aurelia comes in the front line, gonna take that win with no pressure whatsoever. Goobums trying to find a little bit more stabilizing in these augments here. We're hitting so small due Lotus and Arcane Crest, Panda.
These are maybe not the augments that Goobums wants to see on 4-6. They are, of course, catering to his board. He has Yordles in right now. He has Syndicates. He's going to pick up Jewel Lotus. It's not a bad augment by any means. It's maybe ideal on certain comps like, Twin Shot comps for Lucian and Jinx, for example. Arcanist comps, of course, as well. But it can work with many different units that are able to kind of use their ability as their main damage source. The Lulu has now been sold. I think it is about time going to stage 5 and has been upgraded to a Jace. So a pretty massive upgrade there. Double Zeeks on the Zeri and the Jhin.
Yeah.
And going into a sniper route. Maybe seeing that Sivir and Irelia were a bit contested, picked up Recombobulator, and now trying to flex into a strong board for stage 5.
And we're over on Ujul's board, who has that misfortune that I really, really love seeing. Not a lot of legendaries on the board right now. We have the Tahm Kench in to maybe farm a little bit of components, farm a little bit of gold, just add a little bit of extra CC to the enemy team where possible. And then the MF in the backline trying to get damage on the rest of the team. The Aurelia are going to get knocked up here. Maybe enough to take a win against Goose, but here she comes, just dashing through everything, not a care in the world.
The back foot helping so much there as well, and with a sliver of health, the triple kill. Gonna call in a UAV maybe for him, but one more thing to mention, Makes. We have another player with Disintegrator here. So Cho'gath is facing now 2 players going to the late game that will be able to do a much better job of melting down his enormous health pool and trying to combat the healing from underdogs and the Bloodthirster.
But Lilu is on 78 health, a little bit ahead of the rest of the group. So even if the Disintegrators start coming for the chunky Cho'gath, I feel like there is a cushion we can fall on for Lilu, and maybe it'll be enough to just secure a lot of points in the later overall. I'm not too worried with what I've seen that Cho'gath do so far, due to hitting level 8 now here, a little bit later than the rest of the players, I feel like, from what I've seen, but some upgrades for Ujul also coming onto the board here. Beautiful.
Finds the Jin 2, not itemized, so maybe not as important as other upgrades might be. Finds the Orianna, needs to start pivoting this board into something stronger. He needs his 4 cost and 5 cost coming in. He has a Galio, a Victor, and 2 Tahm Kenches on the bench. The Shroud is going to be great for the late game utility, and he's facing off against this menacing Cho'gath in this first game, or first round of Stage 5.
Yeah, and not only is there this big Cho'gath, but there's also an Alistar with a Frozen Heart, and that will help a lot against those Sivir comps if it can actually get to the backline and slow her down just a little bit. It's not as efficient as an Echo, which would jump there right at the start, and you could pre-position it if you're, you know, successful. But with the charges and the knockouts, it's doing a lot of extra CC that can maybe help here. And Ujul able to find the Kai'Sa, I think originally looking for the Zeri here to keep the snipers going, but cannot find it yet. Maybe this is the pivot point for them.
11 loss streak, 11 gold, has to roll maybe a bit more, has to find some upgrades, or else might just die on this round. Wasn't able to get things to work. Has the Goobums tech, the 4 Clockwork going into this final round. Chalice on the Orianna. Will this be enough to survive against Dudu?
Dudu has the innovators going, I may say. The Seraphine is fully itemized in the backline, but the Kai'Sa is trying her best to take out unit. Seraphine only being a 1-star unit maybe will do it here for Ujul. The Kai'Sa is still running. There's only a Vi left. Jin and Kai'Sa still firing, and this will be a win. Ujul lives for another round.
And he has to keep trying to upgrade his board. He has to keep trying to get stronger, because he's going to end up facing maybe at some point one of these players that is streaking, one of these players that is already capped out, that has rolled down his gold and upgraded to one of the scarier boards, maybe with Sivir and Irelia as well. And he might have problems. I mean, still Camille 1. Well, there's a Camille 2 at the very least, but he needs to find some upgrades. I think his 5 costs are not quite there yet.
No, definitely not. And we're going to keep on rolling for Jewel, because really there is nothing else we can do with 8 HP. Going to find the Galio, going to find another Kai'Sa, but will it be enough to find an upgrade to 2-star? Not now. We need to keep going. But, Panda, while this was happening, TXE was able to get that Sivir 2 on the right side of the screen. Also, very low on HP 17 at the time. Maybe this will be the point where TXE can turn it around and get the win streak going for now. Orianna ult.
Ujul's in trouble. It's only the Jace, but the Orianna buys some extra amount of time, and it's enough for Ujul to stay alive for one more round. He's going round by round at this point. 8 HP at this point in the game is really just one loss away from defeat. But Altenawe, despite the fantastic start, has been spiraling downwards in HP all these last few rounds, and we're gonna have to check out if he's also able to survive, because he's at 4 HP. That is definitely the danger zone.
Yeah, definitely. But like I was saying, TXE was able to get a win, so a little bit ahead of Ujul and Altenawe with the Sivir board. Now I assume pretty decently going. Dudu picking up the Zeeks here. Not sure if he's not just taking it away from everybody else, making sure they don't get it, but definitely a pickup for them here. And I'm just curious to see what's going on with Altenawe, because 4 HP, like you said, that's devastating. And the last time we've seen the board, it did look stronger than what we're seeing right now.
He did pick up high 5 as his last augment, so maybe just didn't give him the right amount of board strength with upgrades with those, you know, extra units, and just wasn't able to capitalize, whereas everyone else maybe has gotten more board strength with their augment choices. So Altenawe playing the Kai'Sa as well, finds the Kai'Sa too. This might be the upgrade he needed to stay alive. Has a Jinx too as well. Never mind, the high 5 was fantastic, I think, because he looks incredibly strong. How has he gone down to 4 HP?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what you're wondering, but getting the Kai'Sa only just now, maybe it was just missing that extra strength on the carry. Here comes the Galio, so much CC to go around from Ujul. Both of these players fighting for their lives, and I'm actually, not sure if Ujul can do it. Altenawe takes the win here. Ujul going out 8th in the first game of the final day of Worlds. And here's Lilu with the Cho'gath that everybody in chat is rooting for, I'm sure of it. Right now, top of the lobby leader, so much extra health. Like I said, the disintegrators maybe keep coming for Lilu, but that Cho'gath does not have a care in the world.
And this is what we were talking about. Everyone's talking about the meta comps, these, strong cookie cutter comps that everyone's building towards. But in come the Asian players. China and Korea proved it yesterday. They're proving it now as well. In game one, Adrenaline Rush Cho'gath, the lobby leader by 50 HP points going into stage 6. What more can you say about how flexible and how creative a player like Duel is?
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. But we're gonna meet Altanawe here. And I think this is probably the stopping point. I'm not sure that Kaisa can do enough. You're gonna ult one more time. Cho'gath is still chomping away at the units here. One more ult from that Kaisa, but no Morello, no Giant
The Shojin is big
on it. However, both of the other two units are giving a decent frontline, and it is enough for Altanawe to hang on. Goose, however, got kicked out 7th.
Goose finishes 7th, and the thing with Kaisa is that unlike other comps, she's constantly scaling as the fight goes on. Cho'gath, of course, with underdogs, with Bloodthirster, is doing the same. He's trying to scale up to the point where he can just sustain himself all throughout a fight against 4 or 5 or 6 units even. But Kaisa is a 5 cost for a reason. She's able to end fights, as we saw with Altanawe, and it might propel him all the way into top 4 because he was able to hit such big upgrades on Jinx and Kaisa in stage 5.
And we just saw Dudu's board with the 7 Innovator, but here the fan favorite, I can hear chat cheering for TXE, even though I don't have it open right now. The 4 Striker, 4 Scrap, something we've seen from them all tournament. A comp TXE loves leaning into, gonna get that Sunfire. The front line, not super strong with the 1-star Nar and the 1-star Braum, but enough to maybe hold up a little bit here. Gonna switch last second. Has the Jinx 2, has the Aurelia 2, has the Sivir 2.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna meet Lilu here. I am scared now. This fight could go either way. We're trying to take out the Kazakhs early on. This will be a little bit of help, but here comes the Alistar. Gonna actually missed that Sivir, not getting close enough to slow her attack speed down. And there's 4 units onto that Cho'gath. They're gonna take him down and dethrone Lilu. However, Panda, Goobooms and Leo Lee got knocked out here.
Ooh, a bloody last round there. Both players getting out. Altanawe with 4 HP. He was 8th when we started stage 5. He was about to go out, found the Kaisa 2, and now finds himself among the top 4. Another great start for the Latin American player for this day 3. TXE as well. OCE still on top, still in the top 4 with Dudu and Liluo. So a pretty even split of regions in this top 4 to start things off. Innovator 7, as we teased at the very start of this game with the Innovator emblem coming in from the Asian archives. And we're seeing here the strength of his Innovator comp with the first aid kit as well, providing some extra sustain and healing.
Yeah, and we go off against the Cho'gath one more time. Lilu can't get a break. These players keep coming for the Chonky Cho, and it looks like they can do a decent job at decimating the army that Lilu has built, but I'm not sure it's gonna be enough. The Cho is coming for the Seraphine, the Cho is coming for the Oriana. This will probably be it for Dudu. Altanawe also getting knocked out. It's gonna come down to how much HP we're gonna lose here, and I think it will be a barely loss for Dudu, securing the 3rd place in this round.
That's the good thing about facing Cho'gath. There's only Cho'gath left, so you don't lose much HP at the very least, but Liluo still finds the Kazakhs 2 upgrades. He's at 53 HP. Can TXE make it back, win maybe, I think, 3 or 4 rounds here to win this? I'm not sure. It's going to be tough. The Frozen Heart on Echo is going to be great. It's going to have to position that to maybe stop some of the extra damage coming in from Malzahar. But the key unit here, of course, is the Cho'gath. One thing to mention, the binary airdrop augment for TXE is an augment we talked about. It captured board out so much higher with all the extra items, and it might be what he needs to win this final round.
Getting the IE on the Jinx definitely could help a little bit here. Let's look at the Cho'gath's health, and it's actually going down pretty well, down to 50%. The Sivir is still firing off, gonna take out the Cho'gath, gonna take out everything else down to the Alistar, and Lilu gets a big chunk of their health taken out of them. Carousel.
As much as I imagine everyone is rooting for that Cho'gath to do his thing, Sivir seems to be too strong. Talking about the binary airdrop, all the extra stats from those items is massive for TXC's comp, and it might be the deciding factor. We saw the Striker emblem possibility there, but maybe not the right build around for TXC just yet. And now looking into the final upgrades these players might be able to get, a little bit gold available from Lilo. Has the Galio, maybe going to upgrade the Alistar if he finds a possibility with an upgrade on the Galio, but maybe not quite there just yet. Has a Cho'gath, still trying to find that Cho'gath 3, that would be the big one, but yeah, gonna go for the Galio instead, dropping the Cho'gath in the process. TXC has nothing else to build toward. This is his final comp. The only thing that matters for him is gonna be positioning. The Galio has been found, and Alistar is thrown away.
Big upgrade for Lilo as they go into what could be the final round for TXC. The Alistar is right onto the backline of TXC. This is probably not ideal. Gonna charge away, getting taken out here, trying to make the best of it. The Sivir is still going, but it's not enough. The Cho'gath.
And this is the end of game 1, and I'll see you in the next game.